Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tai Chi Notebook Podcast. I've got something of a different episode for you today. As some of you will be aware, I've been working on a book about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the last year. And well, that book, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the Ultimate Illustrated Guidebook, is finally finished. It's been a collaborative project with renowned illustrator and author Seymour Yang, who goes by the brand name of Meerkatsu and is famous for his BJJ-themed illustrations, which are used in all sorts of BJJ clothing products like rash guards and gis. The book is a hefty hardback. It's a one-stop resource for everything a beginner and even a more experienced person needs to know about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It contains over 970 hand-drawn illustrations that show each technique in detail. It covers all our favourite stand-up techniques, positions, different guards, guard passing, sweeps, submissions, and escapes. And it's available to pre-order now from Meerkatsu.com. In this podcast, Seymour and I discuss how we started this project, what it was like to work together, and all the trials and tribulations that went into producing the book. It was a long podcast, so we better get started. So without further ado, here we are.
So Seymour, we apparently have made a book, and it looks like that. I don't know. Well, that to me looks like it's in mirror writing, so who knows what the audience is seeing.
No, this is
yours looks like it's the proper way around to me.
Yeah, I'm seeing yours proper way around, and I'm seeing my mini window as mirror. But rest assured, listeners and viewers, it's normal. Although, are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording now. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get the live start. This is how professional we are. I didn't get the live start. The 3, 2, 1.
Sorry, do you do a 3, 2, 1? Do you want to do a 3, 2, 1?
I like this random mistaken start. As long as I didn't swear or cuss anyone, I think that was okay. Yes, you joke about the mirror writing, but you and I both know that there was a few production difficulties with the making of this book. One of the printers printed some sample copies of the book, so the cover is normal and the inside pages were upside down. The entire inside bit was upside down, and so I'm really glad that happened because I now know not to use them.
I think they're just being too fussy. I think it's fine.
Yeah, but you know what? Given the number of people who can't actually read, they just look at the pictures anyway, right?
But
upside down for the pictures. It's a colouring book. Who needs to read?
So our book, dear viewers and readers, we've made this book called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu: The Ultimate Illustrated Guidebook, of which we are very proud, and will be on sale whenever this podcast is out properly. Look, it's got our names on the front of the book. We were forward by John Will.
And pictures of us.
Pictures of looking relaxed and casual on the back.
Yeah, and in no way did I take 500 pictures just to find the right one.
So, what's the origin of this? You've got the funny story about how we started.
Well, there's two origins. There's origin where you came into the picture, but prior to that, the origin was I made a joke version of this book, not with the same picture, but very similar, as an April Fool's joke, because I just wanted something funny to put on Instagram. And so, you can get these templates that you just put a picture on it. It does a 3D mock-up. I did that. It's like a pretend book. And I posted that on my social media thinking, haha, guys, the new Meerkatsu book will be out soon. It's a joke, right? It's April Fool's. No one's going to actually think I made a book. Who would be nuts to do that? But underneath, there were many, many comments and many more messages sent to me and subsequent comments. Too many, in fact, to field, all asking the same questions. Where can I buy the book? This looks really cool. Really cool book, Seymour. I want to buy the book. Throwing me money. And then I thought, don't be stupid. I'm never going to do a book like this. Of course, several years later, we have produced a book. But yeah, at the time I thought, you know what? They might have an idea. I've got source material. I've got drawing facilities. There's no book out there at the time anyway, that looks like that. So why not just do it? And later on, I started writing a few sample chapters with my drawings in. I roped in a couple of friends to write some sample chapters as well. We can talk about that later. But anyway, I posted those sample pages on the internet, expecting fan love from everyone, which a lot of people did, to be fair, apart from one person who commented about the grammatical errors and some suggested corrections that I should do to the text, and that person was you. And I had met you before at the seminar, but I didn't quite know your job and everything. So I just thought, who is this person correcting me on my syntax and my grammar and everything? And we had more conversation. It turns out you actually do know a bit about writing and publishing, more than me anyway. So I thought, let's take you up as part of the project, because it looks like you could have some handy skills, just like Liam Neeson in the film Taken.
Just like Liam Neeson. Yes.
Yeah, so a particular set of skills that you could use for the purposes of this project. So yeah, that was it.
We'll find you.
Yeah, indeed. So, but we had met before, you and I, at a seminar. It may even be my seminar or somebody else's seminar.
It was your seminar. It was one you did in Bristol.
In Bristol,
that's where
we had a talk about Tai Chi, didn't we? And
I'm always droning on. I'm always droning on about Tai Chi. People have to shut me up.
We had a little role. It was fun, So we're connected through jiu-jitsu, and I guess a love of publishing and literature and books. For me, I come from books from a pictorial angle. I have a fascination with vintage jiu-jitsu books. So I've got a library of martial art books. I'm sure everyone has. I'm not in that room, but I would normally show people. But among those are, I want to say, 8 or 9 books from the 1900s that I just bought on eBay because I was curious. And there were all these self-defense jiu-jitsu books that were published around that time when jiu-jitsu first made waves in the West. A lot of Japanese judoka would be sent out to the West and teach self-defense classes, and it may have even started before the 1900s, but the books came out around about 1901, 1902, and they were very, very popular because I think gentlemen of the time wanted to know how to defend themselves against street ruffians and the sort. So there would be lots of illustrations of men with umbrellas and canes defeating flat clothed ruffians, and women with ornate clothing defeating them with the same kind of parasols and things. Legendary stuff, really. Those books were very popular, and most of those books were hand-drawn illustrations. So my continuing inspiration to create the book was, well, why can't we do something for the modern era using line art drawings, which, as in my opinion, and you definitely agree with us on that, it just gives a clearer picture of what's going on with these techniques, and we can talk more in depth about techniques we chose and how we produced it, and why diagrams offer the reader something novel and interesting. Maybe we can give you, the front cover is an example. It's a little bit more illustrative than an actual example. This is a typical example here. You've got an opening page and then diagrams of techniques step by step, which is very, very indicative of the books and how they were published in the 1900s. And even going more recently, judo books, if you look at vintage judo books from the 1950s, 1960s, even as late as the 1980s, a lot of them still featured drawings, line art drawings. For some reason, judo is very, very visual, makes for very nice visual drawings, as does Aikido, as we discussed in a previous podcast. And also Kung Fu books. I'm sure you've seen Kung Fu books and Chinese martial arts. A lot of them produced in China. They were hand drawn, showing the nice clothing with the little thing, and guys doing this. So I wanted to evoke some of that romantic atmosphere, which I think we've done. Really, I think we've put together something that honors that genre.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I mean, you can sort of flip to any page, and it's nice to look at, which is great. And a lot of jiu-jitsu books that have tried to do what we've done tend to do it with photos, and the photos just don't have the same, the same clarity. They don't look aesthetically pleasing in the same way. There's always shadow, and you can't really tell what's happening. Whereas with a line drawing, you can make it absolutely explicit what the details are that you're looking for in a technique, which I really, that was what I thought when I saw your pages on the internet for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this is such a good idea. But he's doing it all wrong.
Good. I think one of the things that working with you has made important is that you can't be too precious about your own work when you're trying to produce a professional product, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I guess it's like being a musician. You can be the best singer in the world, but you still need a great band and a great producer, and I guess all the accessories to go around it to create this product, which is a record that somebody buys. If my idea was to create a book, I knew I could not do it on my own. I needed people who could collaborate on an equal basis. And often those people would say, that's wrong, that's incorrect. Isn't it better to try that? And I have to be sort of malleable enough to say, you know what, that's a good idea. I stand by what I say about that one, but why don't we shift that over here? And I think we did a lot of that for the better of the book, because I think both of us come from the same place where the overall aim was for the betterment of the book, for the creation of the best product we can offer, rather than, no, I like my version and I'm going to overrule. I mean, I don't think there was a case where we did that. And
no,
I'm very pleased.
I was gonna say, there's no room for ego in producing a book like this. You can't be like, well, this is my vision and I'm going to do this. And
well, you probably have that when you're working on magazines. When you were working on magazines, it would be obviously the boss which would be the chief editor, but it's not like they would say this is the way it goes. That's why you have a team. That's why you have an editorial board to discuss these things, and everyone has an equal say. And if you can argue your case, then it's in the magazine. It's in the products.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a dictatorship of magazine. It's very much a collaborative process. And I mean, that's my background, is magazines for years and years and years. So I mean, really, a magazine is just pictures and words working together. So and this book is pictures and words working together. It's just a book, not a magazine. So there's no adverts.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have adverts, but I don't think we get adverts in there. That's the thing with those 1900 books. A lot of them have adverts in the back.
Do they?
Yeah, one of the books I have, the books, you flick through it. It's very slim volume. And at the advert, it's an advert for somebody selling gis. Probably the first ever gi retailer in London, which of course, all these posh middle class and upper class socialites trying jiu-jitsu for the first time. They needed uniforms, and the people running them, they didn't know how to make uniforms. So here comes the clothing and cloth manufacturers would step in, Savile Row style, and you can get your own custom-made kimono, which I thought was fascinating. You know, there's us with our show rolls and our Meerkatsus, name drop, but this stuff was going on 100 years before.
Commerce has always been there, hasn't it? But it breeds creativity. So there you go.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Now, so in terms of content for the book, we I don't know about you, but I think we tried to do an overview of the whole business of jiu-jitsu. So starting standing, we've got guard passing, we've got guard playing, we've got submissions, we've got escapes, and sweeps as well. So it's a little bit of, yes.
Yeah, there's a content
it's generally
page.
A bit of everything sort of book, isn't it? It's not specialized on one particular area. It's an overview of everything. And what we've done is try and include what we think are the most worthwhile techniques in those areas. So the most worthwhile stand-up techniques to learn, which includes guard pulling, which is one of your favorite things. And we've
Definitely.
also, so in that process of choosing what techniques to put in, we did a lot of back and forth about, well, what do you think about this, and how high percentage do you think this is? And I think the overall result is we've got quite a balanced, and I think it can almost be a curriculum for a big, like, for somebody learning jiu-jitsu. I guess beginners would find it was fine, but I think there's also enough depth in there that more experienced people would find stuff in there as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And interesting you would say the word curriculum. I think one of the things that we had discussed early on, before we had committed too much to the production of the book, was, are we creating a curriculum, a fundamentals curriculum that any beginner can learn? But I think we ruled that out, or at least ruled out pitching the book as a curriculum, because every school, every affiliation will have its own what they define as curriculum, and that would also restrict us too much. Like, for example, I wanted to include a few leg locks and references to the slightly more modern side of the game. Is that part of a fundamentals curriculum? Arguably yes, but maybe no in some schools. Do we include some self-defense stuff? Do we include some MMA references? And you suddenly get a bit, it's easy to get carried away with trying to put everything inside, and then you end up not really communicating a coherent message of what modern Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to somebody who's never done it before but is interested, buys the book, has a look at a few chapters, and go, oh, this could really help me. So I think at the end of the day, like you say, our cherry picking of techniques, we felt it was important to capture techniques that were universal to, I would say, almost every club, at least a gi-based sport jiu-jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club, but not ignore other things that are going on. So we do reference MMA, or at least historical MMA contexts, and we do reference the more modern submission grappling side of things with name dropping certain key practitioners. I'm not sure we talk about self-defense too much. It's yeah, I think it's enough to talk about MMA, but the self-defense thing I think is amply covered by other titles, maybe other styles. But for example, if you buy the Master Tech's Helio Gracie's Master Tech, it's that thick, isn't it? It's like a massive book. It's all self-defense stuff, and that's for you guys. If you are interested in self-defense, buy that book or versions of that book, or one of the earliest ones by Henzo and Hoyle Gracie. That one that had a lot of self-defensey techniques in, didn't it? Those classic Gracie books, those will serve you well. But for your average high street Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club that pretty much trains in the gi, maybe does a little no-gi, we've tried to aim this book at you guys, or the guys who are thinking of popping into that kind of club. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think so. It's the modern jiu-jitsu practitioner is probably not a full-time athlete, you know. I think our sport gets very skewed by the fact that the famous people are all full-time athletes, and what they do, the level they're training at, is really not what 90% of the actual practitioners of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are actually doing. People just want a kind of fun hobby, right? It's a fun thing to do, Jiu-Jitsu. It should be fun. It's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be super serious life and death. You're meant to have a good time, and that's fine. and this book is aimed at people who just want to get better. You know, you don't have to be training in some sort of life and death situation where, you know, every roll is to the death. It's just meant to be like a nice hobby where you can learn some self-defense skills.
It's a hobby. Yeah. And I don't want to expand too much more and qualify it by it being a lifestyle and this and that. It is. You get obsessed by it, but it's still a hobby. That being said, I fundamentally believe in it as a martial art and a combat sport that you can use should an unfortunate thing happen to you. And I think we're very aware of that when we were picking techniques in here, that they were useful in competition, but generally useful in general in your overall development as a jiu-jitsu student. That we didn't throw any, or if anything was a little bit superfluous, or maybe something that, wow, that technique would only be useful if A, B, C, D happened. So it's a bit obscure. We include that? And I think we ruled out several techniques that were a bit on the fringe of what you would consider your everyday useful techniques. But you and I both know that as a student progresses through the ranks, they pretty much find their own style, their own preferences. They'll cherry pick techniques that they like to do, which may be completely outside what the instructor normally teaches. And I think that's normal. It's certainly the path that I took, and I'm sure it's what you took, and a lot of other people who reach purple, brown, and black belt. I think also as a very interesting book, what the book might appeal to is just people who love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's one of those martial arts that still surprises me today, that the commercial side of it is unlike any other martial art. It's not like something like BJJ Fanatics, for example. It's an incredible machine. It's relentless how many tutorials are out there, how many different people are producing content, how much money these instructors can make selling DVDs. Certainly the more popular ones like Gordon Ryan and John Danaher. You don't get that with Aikido. It may be a little bit with Judo, but it's not a massive commercial money-making machine. Certainly for the clothing and retailing, I can't see, maybe in the 70s, but these days, you know, how much expensive stuff are the Kung Fu guys buying? You know, the Tai Chi scene, are they really going out buying the latest cool jacket to wear and that says Tai Chi, it's a lifestyle? It doesn't happen, right? Only in BJJ.
No.
So I guess this book fits into that as well. We are producing a product that at the end of the day has a price, and we're trying to sell it. But the fact that there is interest out there to buy products like this, so I think it will appeal not just to beginners, but also generally people who just love buying BJJ connected things. It's a coffee table book as well. I mean, it's in this format. It's a hardback, and I guess it could form quite a nice coffee table style book. Although
it's heavy, isn't it?
Yeah,
I didn't think when we started writing this that it would end up being such a big thing, like physically big.
Yeah, I mean, coffee table book implies that it's not that deep. It's just a load of pictures, but obviously we put so much work into the content that it is more like a textbook.
Yeah, and on the terms of content, it starts with a history section, which you wrote. So
yeah,
before everyone thinks that you only do pictures, you actually do writing too, don't you?
I did write a few bits, didn't I? I almost forgot which one. Yeah, so here's our history page. And
nice.
I think the point with the history page is that Jiu-Jitsu did not exist in isolation. The Jiu-Jitsu we practice now is very much influenced by so many other combat sports, going all the way back to Greek wrestling, I guess, Sumerian wrestling. It's commonly said that there's no new techniques under the sun. Something you might thought you invented yesterday in the dojo, I'm sure somebody was trying out 200 years ago in some sports playing field. And so I tried to get a picture of the overall scene of grappling rather than just focusing on the history of jiu-jitsu. And it was also, I think, important to, how should I word this? Create a more balanced view of the history of Brazilian jiu-jitsu from Brazil, without twisting the narrative too much towards the way it was done when it was first introduced to the West. We don't want to name names, but you know, there was very much a myth-making process in the early days, which time has since corrected with various publications, mostly by Robert Drysdale, but also there are other people, Roberto Pedreira writing his choke books. There's a lot of content out there now that has revisited the past and given a little bit more truthful account of what actually went down 70, 80, 90 years ago when jiu-jitsu first hit the scene. So I've just tried to collate as many references as I could and reflect that without offering too much editorial bias. It's just a statement of, you know, in the 1920s, this happened, and we believe this happened. We know this happened, and this led to this, which led to this. There are a bunch of facts connecting the dots. I only have 4 pages to fill it in. You could easily write a whole, and people have written the whole books on the history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Several whole books, yes.
Yeah, which we were not going to do. We were not going to. But
we wanted to present an unbiased version of history, shall we say? Yeah,
I think that's fair. It's really, again, we have to think about the audience. You know, some 21-year-old who's really keen to try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because he's heard about it, sees our book, buys the book. It's good to know the history of it from a neutral perspective, and I think we've tried our very best to do that. But I'm sure when people read it, I'll get emails and comments going, I think you'll find that your comments about in 1945 this happened was actually incorrect. And I'll go, well, where are your sources? Because I've cited my sources.
Yes, we actually cite our sources in the book, don't we?
Rather than just your professor said that this wasn't true. I think I need a bit more evidence on that. But I am open. I think as authors, you have to be open to new ideas and new facts coming in after the fact.
Yeah. Then after the history section, we've got fundamentals, which is all the basics of jiu-jitsu. Grips,
Basic movements, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, we talk a lot about grips, all the different grips you can do, basic movements.
Fundamentals.
You know, like your technical stand-up, your bridging, hip heisting.
I was proud of this page because obviously as a fightwear designer, this was one of the first ones I did.
I'm surprised you didn't put a Meerkatsu logo onto one of the
you
things
know,
there.
I didn't
You
want
missed
to
the
make
trick.
it, Graham, I didn't want to make it all about me. He says, with his name on the book.
His logo on the top right.
I did think about it, but you can't sell it as a textbook for all comers and then make it an advertising platform for me all the time. Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, grips. I like the grips one. I'm proud of that one.
Yeah, look at all those different grips. Also, I'm forever explaining what each grip is called to people. I know I could just go and buy the book.
Well, here's the thing, right? We all know that jiu-jitsu, very often techniques have multiple ways of describing them. In many cases, we had to make a decision, didn't we? And go, let's call it this. Because
we did.
Even though other people call it the so-and-so, we've decided to call it this because that seems to be the convention.
Yeah, I think we tried to find the most widely used name for each different thing.
Yeah, like even on the grip page, everyone knows the gable grip, right? It's the gable grip. But what is the gable grip? It's a palm-to-palm grip. And there are different ways to get palm-to-palm grip. So why should we restrict it to just the gable grip? Just call it palm-to-palm, and that implies palm-to-palm. So I think that's more interesting and more useful to describe instead of just gable grip. Also, what did I went to a seminar, and this grip, which we've called the seatbelt grip, Dean Lister called it something else, and it's completely escaped, but he called it something else. And I've heard it described as something else as well. So, but seatbelt grip makes sense because it's one of the first things you learn from the back control, the seatbelt grip, and you just hold it like this. Yeah,
I've always thought of
the
that's also the grip that Marcelo does his Marcelo team with, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite grips, actually. I use it for footlocks, so that's good. Yeah, so we do grips. The basic movements I'm proud of. I think the thing with the basic movements is this was the hardest page to design because there's
a lot going on there.
So much content on here, and it was one of the exceptions where we had to break the rule of not overfilling the page. I think you and I both were quite clear on how the book should be presented, that it should be more clean, like these pages are. But there was just no other way to present this information other than to do it with lots of small step-by-step pictures.
Yeah, we didn't even want to have arrows on any of the pictures at one point, did we?
I resisted the arrows for a long time.
And then about halfway through, we just went, do you know what? I think we need arrows.
You know
just
what?
To help
it was the sweeps page, I think, because so many sweeps have directional movements, and then you're not always clear when you go from A to B to C. So the arrows just tipped it over the. At the end of the day, our job is to provide information, and so why did we have to say no arrows? Arrows help.
It's because when you're doing a book, you have to invent rules, right? So that everything's consistent. You can't just decide on one page to have arrows and then not to have arrows on the next page.
Then we had to go back and add some arrows. Luckily, it's not too many.
Once we consistently decided to have arrows, then we had to put them back in.
We had to put them back in. Yeah, we had a lot of going back and forth because the rules changed, didn't it?
Yeah, but that's natural. The rules change as you write. You realise that you started off down one path and it's not really working out. You've got to adapt, haven't you?
Although I think you can be. Again, we were very sparse with them. For example, the break falls page. There's no need to put arrows there. You could put arrows to say, right, roll forward, but you can clearly see he's rolling forward. So why do you need arrows? So we've tried to be very sparse. Again, I wanted the pages to be clean, lots of white space. Otherwise, you're taking away the whole point of diagrams being crystal clear.
And also the decision to not have hair as well.
Yes,
that makes it look very clean, doesn't it?
Bald people. So we wanted to give people with no hair or lack of hair more visibility. Also, let's face it, you look around a typical gym, it is mostly guys, and most of them are of a certain age, and most of them lack hair or are thinning. So I'm just representing us for you guys. No, I think the truth is it was just easier to draw.
Yeah, I've actually look at that. It's receding massively, but I still have that. So.
Also, don't forget, I had to, when I was drawing you, because you feature in the book a couple of times. We should talk about how we made the drawings, but I had to, because the beard growth elongates the chin, and so if you just draw the outline, you look like a very weird Thor type character with a big chin. I had to imagine where your chin line was and draw your chin. So in some of them you've got a more robust square jaw, and some of them might be more curvy. So you can't really say it's you. I
can't tell who anyone is from the pictures, because
they're all based on real people. The girls are identifiable. This is our.
That's true. Yeah.
This is our blue belt called Jules. She's very distinct. She has always have a distinctive plait, so that's quite nice. So I've told her she's on the cover. She seems happy with that. And I can tell when I'm in there, especially Nogi, because I'm the skinny ass. I've got a skinny neck, but I've got really long arms and bony knees. And I was faithful in creating the drawings to what I look like. So I can tell when it's me. But everyone else, I kind of trimmed a bit of side there, slimmed a bit of shoulder, made a foot smaller here. There was a lot of adaptation to the drawings I did. Perhaps we should describe the drawing process in a little bit. Is that we filmed techniques. We filmed hundreds of techniques. Some of them were photographs, but most of them were films. And the thing with recording a technique on your camera is that you can choose the select freeze frame that you want. And I took the freeze frame I liked, put it into my iPad, and drew over it in Procreate using my digital pen. Take away the photograph and you have the pure line drawing. And then we fill it in with gray tones. But that's just the beginning. There was a lot of editing involved, because when you move as you can see my hands now, too close to the camera, if you trace that freeze frame, I look like I have gigantic hands. So when you see something in 2D, you have to adapt it and bring it right back so it looks normal size. That was tough, because each technique, a minimum of 4 steps. Sometimes some of them had 9. I think the most had 9. That we didn't get any more. But it's very interesting. If you choose any technique in jiu-jitsu, you can actually boil it down to about 5 steps. Right. And some of them had just 3 steps. And you think, how reductive do we get with this? And because the more reductive you get, the more arrows I need.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
I mean, the next chapter is stand-up, right? And it's very interesting because apart from the grip fighting, once you've created momentum, they're either standing or they're on the floor. So actually, I thought that would be really complicated. But just like classical old judo books, there's probably only about 4 steps for fairly basic throws and takedowns.
Yeah, so we've got collar drag, and we've got sumigaeshi, classic of jiu-jitsu. Fake guard pull to ankle pick, which is a bit of a devious technique. Yeah.
Mendes brothers' favorite. But we love that one. Yeah.
And then we've got Sasai something Ashi.
Surikomi Ashi. Yeah. That's my that's Sandeep's favorite. Sandeep's on the cover. Sandeep runs the club that I teach at. And he features in the book a lot. I have to give a shout out to Sandeep, because he probably more than anyone volunteered his time to help the book out. I mean, so much content. He just said, just call me, I'll be there at the gym. So we would book the gym. We would film just us doing techniques for hours and hours after class, so that I could choose these free frames to draw. Completely, he's a very busy man. He's got family. He's running the gym. So I have to give a shout out to Sandeep, and he loves the book, by the way. I've already given him a copy and he loves it. Obviously, He's telling everyone he's on the cover. So.
Well, we all know now. But yeah, so that's one of his particular, that Sasai.
That was his suggestion, because he says, I teach all the beginners that one because it's the easiest way to do a foot sweep. You just literally stand there and misdirect them.
Yeah. Give me sort of turn the wheel with the arms and
I mean, I'm shit
stop
at
their
it.
leg from moving.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that one myself either.
He did it on me, and it's like, how do you do that? It's so effortless. Well, just come to my class and I'll show you.
It's the sort of technique that you see people doing competitions, and it looks effortless, and the person goes
so
flying.
Cool. When I do it, I just go thud on their foot, and they go, "Why aren't you falling over?"
That's the problem. You go thud, and they sort of, on a good day, they maybe stumble a bit.
No, he convinced me that it worked because he was doing it on me, and then one of the other students was nearby. He goes, "I'll show you on Jack," and he was doing it on him.
Yeah. Then we've got rear body lock. Oh, that's an important one.
You
can't not do that.
We had a chat about it.
What do you do when you're behind somebody? You know, you have to have something for you've got behind somebody, don't you?
I teach that a lot.
And then we've got then we've got the classic single leg.
Now, single leg is good because it's the first one that shows one of our lady figurines. Okay, that's actually our student Steph, and I felt it was important to get a little diversity. Pretty much all the books you buy are just two blokes doing techniques, and I think jiu-jitsu has changed so much since the first Gracie books were out. It's there are some classes that actually there are more women training than men. Some classes in some academies, especially in London, not in ours. We've only got about 4 or 5 ladies training, but I think more and more women are training, and that's a reflection of how popular jiu-jitsu is. So I wanted to reflect that in the book as well, and I think you were supportive of that as well.
Yeah. I think it's also it's a really good martial art for women to learn, I think, as well, because it's obviously there's a lot of fighting from your back, which and people grabbing and pulling, and how to escape from holds, which is all essential stuff.
You're referring to the self-defense aspects. There's a very strong argument that just learning jiu-jitsu for sport is good enough for self-defense.
Oh yeah, I'm totally down with that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this with Stefan, where he said that I take a sports jiu-jitsu blue belt who has never trained self-defense in his life over somebody who has spent the last 10 years not sparring and learning how to
doing chi blasts.
Chi blast. No, poking people who aren't resisting in the eye, that kind of stuff.
We've all seen that stuff. Yeah.
But what in jiu-jitsu you learn to deal with actual resistance, invaluable for self-defense, even though you might not consider it self-defense. But yeah, it's one of those strange contradictions, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, there will be a fair proportion of pages inside the book where there are women drawn, not bald. Glad to know. For some reason, drawing bald women doesn't have the same anonymizing effect as drawing bald men. I don't know why. It's still, I don't know. It doesn't look quite as good. So lots of ponytails and hairstyles.
All the women have hair, basically, don't they?
Yeah. You've got to have some dignity as well, right? I can't just completely strip everything a human away from. Yes, we're proud of the pulling guard chapter, and I don't know if this podcast will come out. It will come out after I've shared a preview, but this will be our first preview to.
Yes, we're giving this away, aren't we?
We're giving away a pulling guard chapter as a sample preview to see if you like the book and the way we write it and the way we present it. But we're also proud of it because I don't think there's any other book that talks about pulling guard. It's kind of like this shameful.
As much as we do.
It's like a shameful secret that no instructors like to talk about, and yet you watch any tournament, at least 50% of the fights from white belt to black belt, there's a guard pull. At least 50%. Why? Because it's the most effective way to get into a controlling position from which you can begin scoring points. And it's not as hard as learning judo or wrestling. And that's the same right up to black belt. So you can criticize it all you like, but it exists, and it's our job to make sure if you're going to pull guard, do it properly.
Yeah. We have several pages on pulling guard, don't we?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 4 pages on pulling guards, and the rest are other standing escapes. Okay, yeah, standing stuff. But we also do countering pulling guards, so I guess you could say it's 6.
Yeah, this is the counter.
Yeah, there's 2 counters to pulling guard. So if you don't,
And you
if you
can
hate
call
guard
that
pullers,
fake,
we got you. We got you, guard pull
Yes.
haters.
and there's also the fake guard pull to ankle pick, which is another guard pulling
Wow. So are we talking a 7th
technique.
page on?
Seventh
We
page.
might as well
Yeah.
just rename this book Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Guard Pulls, the ultimate guard pulling book. Oh, and some other techniques, but you don't want them.
Clearly, our next book should be the ultimate guard pulling guidebook, shouldn't it?
I can see T-shirts, stickers, merchandise. Oh, amazing. So yeah, there's the first like technique chapter is standing, because everything starts standing. So we did it in that logical order, didn't we?
Yeah. And then we've got one measly standing submission there on its own, but with a
I'm trying to think how
discussion
many
about
different standing submissions you can do. We chose the loop choke, which the reason I suggested standing loop choke, because it's very white belt friendly. It's the kind of submission that you get caught in white belt because you don't see it coming, and after that you never see it because people are better. They're better prepared. But one of the first competitions that my club, when I first started the club, I sent some of my guys there, and everyone was a white belt. And one of my guys got caught with this standing loop choke, and I had not prepared them for that because it didn't occur to me. Well, now, guys, it's in the book, so there's no excuse.
The real reason comes forth.
Yeah, that's
which is
there's a history.
You're
to
humiliated because your student got caught with it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Therefore,
This is the ultimate revenge, right?
yeah. But we also talk about flying arm bars there.
Flying arm bars. Why they look cool, but are they real? Are they really useful? And I think you mentioned something about the sense and sensibility of what to choose and what to choose to use when you're standing.
Yeah.
So you're like the voice of reason. You're like Father Sensei telling them don't do flying arm bars yet as a white belt. They exist and they're cool, but don't do it.
Yeah. Then we go and talk about positions.
Position,
which is obviously this is it's not the world's most exciting topic, but we need to cover it, don't we? This is like eating your vegetables with a meal.
What comes before submission? Position. Okay. Yes, eating your vegetables. Good analogy. I like that. You should do writing.
Yeah, I've heard that. So yeah, obviously side control, knee on belly, all the variations of such things, mount, back control. I remember we talked a long time about what to call each position. We have to settle on like a particular name. Like, do we call it back control, or do we call it rear mount, or do we call it something
There's a little
else?
discussion on that. We went with what the IBJJ called it, didn't we?
Yeah, in the end, that we decided, we searched around and decided that they've solved that problem already. Let's just go with what they've done.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, we've got turtle in there. Obviously, that's one of our favourites. The much maligned turtle position.
There's another one where we're bucking the macho. Jiu-Jitsu is a macho sport trend. We got guard pulling, and now we got a whole chapter on turtle. But in my opinion, I think the turtle has changed a lot in how it fits into at least the sports side of it.
It's cool again, isn't it?
Certainly in the no-gi submission grappling scenario,
Yeah.
it's quite possible to turtle and turn those turtles into counterattacks. There are a number of notable practitioners who do that. We don't quite go that deep with it. We just show that it's there, it exists. If you are going to turtle, at least move into doing this position, which we've added the makikomi roll, which is just trapping the arm and rolling over. Very basic, very easy to do, but still surprisingly effective. People get caught in that, don't they?
They do. In fact, they do all the time. One of my favourite things.
It is.
Yeah, but later on we talk a lot about how to unturtle a turtler as well. So
yes,
that's in the later chapters. I'm not exactly sure
where. Is that in escape defense? No, where did we put that?
This would be a good chance to use the index, wouldn't it, to find all the references to turtle. We have an index at the back.
Turtle. Unfortunately, it doesn't go that deep. It just says turtle, and it gives you 20 page numbers.
Okay. So
I didn't.
Every other index on the
planet. sorry, listeners. Doing an index is boring. I wasn't going to go that deep. It's like, you want turtle? Here are your pages.
Yeah.
Read the book properly. Transitions, I think, was your idea. Was that right?
Transitioning.
We did
I
a
think
lot
this
on
is.
transitioning.
I think we just decided that if we're going to do positions, we have to do like how you move between them, because
Yeah.
otherwise, they're just sort of isolated and don't connect to each other.
I think that's another. I don't want to say USP, but that's another thing that we've put into the book. The in-between techniques, the movement patterns that aren't covered in other printed form, but it's covered in video form. And we try to bridge that gap with these chapters on transitions and the in-between position things that go on. Not a lot, but there's enough pages in there to give you the idea that Jiu-Jitsu is not a series of static techniques and positions. It's very much an alive and moving art and sport.
Oh look, there's attacking the turtle. It's in the same chapter. It's in
Right,
these transitions. That's
Yeah.
where it is.
Yeah. So transitions is, and we got
And
one,
that's
two,
me.
three,
I
four,
recognize myself, even without hair.
5, 6. Yeah, 6 pages on transitions.
That's me doing the crucifix.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, it's a good one. There you go. Bald, of course.
Totally bald. Yeah.
Yeah, those are
Bit
good.
of a
Those are
fall.
good ones. They're nice. They're easy to do. They're easy to learn, and opportunities like this do present themselves, especially as a beginner. If you're sparring somebody who's a little bit scared, is running away from you from your side control, and they turtle up, that's your chance to use these techniques. And it is quite common, more common, I suppose, at beginner level. If you're sparring a purple belt, they're not. If a purple belt is turtling, watch out. There's a trick.
Yeah, it's a trap.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
actually going to
definitely
put
a
my
trap.
light on because it's turning dark, and I think I'm losing the light in this room. There we go. That's better.
That's okay. So yeah. So the next chapter.
Then we're into the guard.
Yes.
So we've got a bit of theory at the start about what is a guard. Why do you guard? What's going on? What's the point? Always good.
Can you just
because,
talk about what style you've written these introductory chapters in? Because we're not trying to make it a boring textbook. We're trying to almost like hold someone's hand, aren't we? With we're describing what something is.
So the guard theory one is a good example. We're explaining why is there a guard? Like, what is the point of because beginners often they look at jiu-jitsu, they just don't understand what's going on, and why is one person on their back but they're winning? I don't understand. And then it's as soon as you understand what you're looking at, it all fits into place. So the guard theory sort of intro to the guard section is designed to explain the theory of what's happening, so that you can just look at a situation, you can work out what's going on, and also why the guard is so important. Like, without it, you've just got nothing, but with it, you've got submissions, you've got sweeps, you've got ways to defend yourself from the bottom. So I try to write all the intros in that kind of, let's just take a step back and look at the big picture sort of way, make it fun, rather than just, we'll start straight away with here's closed guard, boom.
You've also described common scenarios. So say a beginner turns up, they go onto YouTube and they type in BJJ match, and they'll very much see a match that quite often will look like this. One person on top, one person on bottom. There's a lot of grippy stuff going on. Not much is happening. Looks like they're trying, but they still stay in that same position. And you've pretty much dedicated several paragraphs on describing what that's all about. Guard playing versus guard passing. And they form such a massive bulk of what we do as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners that it's important to describe that, because otherwise it just, if you don't understand what's going on, you become one of those people in the UFC that boo whenever ground fighting happens in the UFC. Ground fighting, why would you need to know that?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the essence of the game, isn't it? It's like tennis, where one person's serving, the other person's receiving serve. You can't both serve at the same time. It doesn't work.
That's a good one. Dan, did you put that one in the book? Is that a new one?
We
should do a whole book on analogies. Analogies.
We're illustrated, obviously.
The two guys person wearing a gi playing tennis.
Yes, playing tennis. Yeah, it's just like tennis. You can't both serve at the same time.
Remember, kids. Yeah, you can't. And a comedy picture of both serving. Oh my God, there you go. We're just full of ideas.
We'll have to do that in some future volume, I think. And then we're into closed guard. So all the variations of closed guard, like high guard, overwrapping the arm, head and arm control.
I
Then
like
we've got
that
half
chapter.
guard. Oh
I
yeah,
like these chapters because I like the
closed
guard.
guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Half guard, very popular with the kids these days.
Sure is.
Yeah, and this one has the most variations, I think. You've got, deep half, lockdown, butterfly half, knee shield.
And there's
And then-
probably more. There's probably more that we didn't cover. Did we include Oxford's guard in here? I don't think we did.
We did.
We?
We
We
did.
did, okay.
It's as a technique, I think.
Here's the thing, dear listener. Your brain goes, when you're writing a book that's 70 pages and it has 1,000 drawings, your brain goes to mush and you cannot remember what happened and what you wrote about 3 months ago. I
so
can't
weird.
remember. I
When
can't remember
we
what
started
we put
writing
in there.
It took months to write this, and then when we looked at the final copy of it all together as one thing, there are bits in there that I had no memory of at all.
I have no memory.
It's
Yeah.
like, did I write this? Who wrote this?
And I have to be honest, at some point I won't remember who the models were who who I drew.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, give it 5 years and it'll be completely gone, won't it?
Somebody will come to me in 5 years' time and try and sue me, going, "You used my image and I want the compensation." I go, "Who are you? What? I didn't prove it." Like a child, illegitimate child or something. Anyway, why do
we've got a lot of X-Guard stuff in there, which I really like.
Well, I think a larger conversation is what guards did we decide to choose? We got the main ones. We pretty much got all the ones that will take you all the way up to a very good blue belt level. And everything else after that becomes variations and combinations of these guards, like Della X guard and all these sorts of things, which actually we did include in here. The guard is traditionally very, very complex technique or concept, isn't it? Or it has been, especially in the gi. We didn't talk about worm guard and lapel guards, did we, and things like that?
No, we didn't talk about. That's one thing we didn't really delve into, was the lapel guards. Although
and it's still very common in competition and in the modern game, isn't it? These lapel guards.
We talked about mantis guard as a no-gi guard, didn't we?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what that was.
Is there a lapel version of
guard in there? Yeah, it's mantis can be done with a lapel.
You like your collar and sleeve, don't you? We've heard a lot of collar and sleeve because it's such an effective open guard, isn't it?
Yeah, collar and sleeve is like my bread and butter.
I've been adding that so much more to the syllabus to teaching my guys, and they're loving it. I think they find it tricky though. It's not an easy guard because there's so much distance compared to say spider guard where you have both sleeves and you're really controlling them. But it's so good for attacking or submissions, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually find it a lot easier to play than spider. But my problem with doing double sleeve spider guard is that you continuously get they rip their hand out of it.
True.
And your fingers just turn to mush after a while. Whereas collar sleeve, I find it's really hard for people to break that collar grip, even with two hands, because as they go for the two-handed grip to break it, you just give them a little tug and they're falling forward and they haven't got the feet, so they can't actually get enough leverage to break the grip, and they stop trying after that. So
you've explained that very well on the intro page.
I find that just a super easy guard to play. But then again, I think guard playing is very unique to the person. Like it clearly suits my body type, whereas spider guard might suit someone else.
Well, that's another thing that raises the question of how to use this book. If you're brand new to jiu-jitsu, it's not like a syllabus where you have to learn all this to get your blue belt. That's not how jiu-jitsu works. Most clubs have a curriculum, but again, it's not like you have to learn and perfect every technique to get your grading. Like in traditional martial arts, here's your syllabus, you've done it, demonstrate you can do it, you pass the grading onto the next belt. That's not how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu works. So I don't want to give the impression that this is a guide to getting your next belt or getting good at competition. It's a presentation of a lot of positions and techniques which you'll be exposed to, and I think that's the key word. We're exposing you to the cornucopia, the zoo that is jiu-jitsu. But it's up to you how you use it. And some of them you won't use at all, and some of them you will be specialists in if you concentrate over many years. But some of these guards I can do, but I just don't like using them. You've already described you like collar and sleeve. Whereas for me, I would probably prefer to play De La Riva or variations of X guard. So those are my go-to.
Then for the Nogi guys, we've got Williams guard in there as well, which is a shoulder pin guard.
Yeah.
I really like practicing that, but
Yeah.
I find it almost impossible to do in rolling.
Right.
It's just me. It doesn't work for me.
Right.
I can never get anyone to stay close enough, long enough to actually, go through the steps you need to hook your leg up.
Even in Nogi, because there's it's slightly easier to break their posture in Nogi, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess I just find people always want to run away from me.
Yeah, true. True.
And
I think this highlights the idea that there are guards out there you will like, and you may hate, and there are guards you will hate now. 2 years time, you may think, do you know what? I really like this guard, and I hated it 2 years ago. It's an evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't dismiss anything just because you don't like it now. It will come back. It will come back into your game. It exists for a reason, because it's effective, but maybe not effective for you right now.
Got a bit of guard recovery in there. That's a great topic, that is.
Yes. Yeah, I like that one. You missed 50-50. We got 50-50 guards.
Oh yeah,
One of my favorites.
Yeah, that's all you, isn't it? It's 50-50 push in the book is definitely from you. I mean, I really like 50-50. It's not like I hate it. I really like it, but I mean,
you could argue, is it a guard that a
beginner?
You could argue, is it a guard that a beginner needs to learn? And again, I would go back to the arguments. Well, we're giving you exposure to a guard that exists, and your instructor will definitely have shown you at one point. But I think it's a very useful guard if you want to compete, especially if you're up against someone in the higher ranks. If you're a blue belt, purple belt, 50-50 is definitely going to be something you're going to use, gi or no gi. Especially
for like sneaky leg locks too.
Yeah, well, yeah, in no-gi for sure. In the gi, you don't have the ability to reap, so it's less. It's less easy to convert that no-gi into other things, that 50-50 into other things. But it's great for stalling. So if you're old like me and you need to catch your breath, that's the guard for you. Yeah, guard recovery. You can't do enough of this. We can't do enough guard recovery drills, can you? It's such an important topic. We've dedicated a double-page spread on it.
I quite often do in my classes the warm-up is like we'll do a bit of a warm-up, then we'll just do guard recovery drills, right? Because they're a great way to warm up.
It is, yeah, you're right.
And also they're the sort of thing that get forgotten about, and then you never want to do them as the main technique of the day, do you? Because it's just guard recovery. It's a bit boring, but they're super practical and super useful.
Yeah, when it's guard week, and I want to cover recovery, I'll just gamify it. Like you say, if you do it as a warm-up, you do it as a warm-up. There's no difference, but I just put it into the middle. We do a warm-up, and then I say, right, we're doing guard recovery drills, but they're not drills. You gamify. The person is really genuinely trying to pass. So, so that's fun. And the guys are getting good from that. We got some guard transitions. This was tough to draw. Visually, I don't think it's my best visually. It's a little bit too much similarity between each image pair.
This is probably the most complicated bit of the book, I think.
Yeah. Guard transitions.
These 2 pages. Right? Yeah, because each one of those, you have to really look at the picture and really read the text, and then mentally work out what the key detail of each bit is, how they got from there to there.
Just to clarify, we do explain it all in the captions as well. So you go, it will say, starting in spider guard A, move the leg over, blah, 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 blah. So you get to picture B, and that's called the so-and-so guard, etc. I mean, I'm proud of it in that it's quite a complex topic to describe, let alone illustrate the layers of the guard that you go through up and down. And even now I teach it in class, and I think it's still not quite sinking through to the students that you need to view the guard systems as inner shell and outer shell and middle shell. But I think we both agreed it was important to put in a book like this.
Yes, because you have to look at how guards work together, don't you?
Yeah, basically this is the whole ecosystem of how being a guard player works from both in a defensive and attacking point of view. And this was inspired by Ryan Hall, who first came up with this guard shell concept, as far as I'm aware. And then Keenan Cornelius did a whole series of videos, and they're still online now. So if you want to learn more about this, see our book, but also see Keenan's work. It will flesh out the concept for you. But I think it's one of the most important things in to learn about when playing guard.
I want to go into passing guard.
Yeah, go.
Which is the next bit. Which is
so chapter 6. Was it chapter 5? Erroneously chapter 6 on the samples.
It should be chapter 6, shouldn't it? Yes. Passing guard. So bit of an intro as we're talking about the concept of passing guard.
Yeah.
Then we do close guard, obviously the big one. The one that everyone needs to know. You have to do that. So we've got like 3 different passes. 1, 2, 3.
So we've got staying on your knees, standing up, and then
3.
the middle one, which I always think is not really staying on your knees, and it's not really standing up, the log splitter.
Yeah.
You'll get instructors that say the only way to open the closed guard is to stand up. Roger Grace is a big proponent of that, and he passed that down to my instructor, who always said stand up. But you know what? Standing up is hard. It's the best way to use gravity on your side, but it's hard. And I've seen people not needing to stand up. They just stay on their knees and they split those legs open like anything. They're very good at it. So you can't deny that the staying on your knees version exists and can be used. So that's why we include it in the book. But we've described that it gives you, the reason people like it is because you've got stability. You're basically a tripod on the ground. But he can also attack you quite nicely from there. He or she, I should say.
Also, sometimes you're a little bit tired, aren't you? And standing up is a big effort.
We're old men now. Who needs to be standing up all the time? If you don't like standing up and you don't want to stay on your knees because your instructor's watching, the log splitter, which is the third option we've given you to open the closed guard, a very good one. These were fun to draw, actually.
That's my go-to, really, that one.
Yeah, these were fun to draw. They're all legit, I think. I think we've chosen 3 very fundamental ways to open the closed guard. There are other ways. Like we didn't do Sao Paulo pass, did we?
No.
We didn't do stacking to open the closed guard. There's lots of ways to open the closed guard.
I don't like those myself, so I wasn't bothered that we didn't do them. So.
I just don't use them. I know they exist. I've even taught them, but I don't use them. I do like the one where you trap the arm underneath their spine.
Yeah, that's so annoying when people do that to you.
So annoying. But I thought it was a bit too gimmicky.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit too gimmicky to put in the book. And also there's a limit on space. You can't put every single way of opening the closed guard in that.
No. Then we've got
that was another discussion we had, wasn't it? We had to almost stop ourselves from overflowing with 20 versions of opening and close. Does it do the job offering these 3? Yeah. Is it enough for them? Yeah. Could we have done more? We could have, but then you'd end up with a book that's twice the size. Nobody wants a 1,000-page book.
No.
The shipping cost alone would be too much.
It's impractical. But then we've got guard passing for open guard, like the staple pass, double unders, stacking. And then we go into
all your basics, really.
Yeah, then we go to passing the half guard, which is obviously like an important factor.
We gave 3 versions there. Then this is your thing now. This is the thing that you, I think, is very special to this chapter that hasn't really been done to this detail before. We've given. You can describe it. What have we given our beginner students?
So after we've done the very specific situations like closed guard and half guard, we just talk about passing the open guard, and it's a complete. There's so many passes, and there's so many possibilities. We decided to try and narrow it down so that we could funnel everything you're doing to basically a couple of guard passes. So you've got the knee cut passing, and you've got the leg drag, and we show different ways to get to these 2 basic passes, so that whatever situation you find yourself in, you can get yourself back to either doing a leg drag or a knee cut. And that way you don't have to learn a million passes. You can just learn 2 and lots of ways to get there.
So we describe, first of all, the knee cut pass, just the most basic fundamental way to use your knee when slicing across the thigh there. And the next page is leg drag, what the leg drag is, how to do it, what it looks like. And so the nuts and bolts, the fundamentals of the movement are there. And then we dedicate the next, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. And both, it's either knee cut or leg drag is the resulting final bit of passing this guard. So it's a very clever way, I think, of tackling guard passing in a very modular fashion that is easy to understand.
Yeah, so you start off in a different situation, like, for example, you're in leg lasso, and then we take you from there to a leg drag, and then you know what to do. Or we start off in knee shield, and we take you from there to a leg drag or a knee cut.
Yeah, the Toriano pass as well. You've got Toriano pass here. There's a way to do it so that you end up in the leg drag. Well, then we don't need to finish off describing the leg drag. You just refer back to the page on how to do the leg drag, finish the leg drag from there. So I thought that was very clever. It kind of cuts out about 100 pages of repeating yourself again.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. That's what we didn't want to do. We didn't want to end up repeating ourselves, did we? Yeah, that works out quite well.
But of course, guard passing is so complicated. We have had to add pages where it's very specific to that particular guard. Yeah. So, but anyway, that was a fun chapter to do. Very technical. It started to get very technical, didn't it?
Yeah. This was a monster. And for example, if you look,
would you say that was the hardest chapter to do?
Yeah, I think so. If you look at page 1 through 2, there's a lot of illustrations going on there, because some of the passes have many steps, you know.
So knee cut to long step to leg drag.
Yeah. Again, it's a bit like combining guards together, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so you start in a knee shield, and it was a way to defeat the knee shield. You try to knee cut, but it's not quite working. So you do a long step, and then you step over whatever counter that they're doing. I think this got a bit complicated. We got a little bit lost in but what if they do this and what if they do that? Let's draw it. But I think we've done a good job into it. It's ended up being just 7 steps. If you see it in video, it just looks like them bouncing from one side to the other. But we've narrowed it down to 7 key steps, which I think we did a job there. EFG, yeah. And the next page is double underhooks to the leg staple. I could have reduced it down to 5 steps, but I think it looks better in 6 steps there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice. It's good work. So the next chapter is sweeps. I think visually, that's the most fun to draw, because you've got people flying around, upending, being tripped, reversed. That was a fun chapter to draw.
Yeah, we've got all the classics there as well. Lots of arrows. What scissor sweep, hip bump sweep, pendulum sweep, flower sweep. Yeah. These are your
and let's
staple.
Face it, sweeps are very satisfying to do. If you're new to the sport and you've been maybe grueling away for a month and you get your first scissor sweep, that's a very satisfying feeling. Probably more than a submission, because with submissions, I sometimes feel like, was I a bit lucky? Was the person just so bad that they didn't know how to defend it? But a sweep is a technique that takes knowledge and skill, and then once you manage to do it, there's no luck in it. You have deliberately gone for that sweep. So we've shown all the big ones. Yeah, flower, pendulum, lumberjack sweep, double ankle sweep, tripod sweep, sickle sweep.
Tripod sweep's I love that.
Yeah,
big part of my game. If you're a collar sleeve person like me, then tripod sweep.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Mine is the sickle sweep. That's almost my.
Okay.
It's so boring that I always go for it. My training partners know exactly when I do it, and they hop over my incoming leg, and I go, oh, drat, and they'll just go, Seymour, just do the same thing every time. Of course, you know, do something new. I go, yeah, all right, whatever. I like it. I catch some people with it, all right. So yeah, I love the sickle sweep. It was almost boring in how often I do it, so I had to put that in. But also, it's a nice way to categorize the different sweeps because they all look a bit similar, don't they? Tripod, sickle, lumberjack, even a double ankle. I have seen videos where the instructor has misnamed it. So they wanted to show the sickle, but they've called it the lumberjack, or they wanted to show the tripod sweep, but they called it the. I'm thinking, dude, you're a black belt, and you're posting this on social media, and it's got 1 million views, and you've called it the wrong thing. Do you know how irritating that is to somebody who likes their categories and things, as you do? I know you do, Graham. You're like me, don't deny it. We like our categories and pigeonholes put in properly.
Yes, but I'm very forgiving.
So we do half guard sweeps. That was fun. Wow, that's quite a lot of half guard sweeps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half guard, 6, 7. Oh, there's the
So this is the dog fight. Obviously, that's
7.
a great thing.
We did
I'm really
7
glad we
half
covered the
guard
dog
sweeps. If you're a half guard fan, this book is for you. There's a lot of half guard in here.
Yeah, that's where the octopus is, right?
Yes. I keep thinking of Ringo Starr's song, An Octopus in the Garden in the Sea, or something. He sings about it, doesn't he? Anyway.
Yeah, Yellow Submarine.
That's that. Well, no, there wasn't.
Well,
Like
no, that's Octopus's Garden, isn't it?
An octopus.
In an octopus's garden.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Don't sing anymore. We have to pay royalties.
Oh, that's true. Also, I'd be subjecting people to my singing voice. Butterfly guard sweeps. That was fun. We kept thinking of Adam, our European.
Adam.
Is it Wojcinski?
Wojcinski, I think.
Yeah.
We've probably got that wrong.
He's the king of the butterfly.
Despite being 6 foot, he's a butterfly player, which is weird.
I think that was one of our first discussions, and you showed me a video of his. And do we depict it like this, like Adam shows, or do we depict it like Marcelo shows? And and you have these crises about how to depict the definitive butterfly sweep. But I think we got there in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to default to whatever Marcelo does myself.
Fair enough. He's an absolute legend, and he's mentioned several times in the book.
Yeah.
Looks at index. Garcia, where we go?
Well, you've got the Homer Simpson
4 times. Got Marcelo's mentioned 4 times in the book.
You've got the Homer Simpson sweep in there as well, which is great.
Yeah, do we have to pay copyright on that? Perhaps we shouldn't mention it.
Yeah, okay.
But Jeff Glover mentions it all, he doesn't get told off. Now you like your De La Riva sweeps, don't you? So you got a couple of yours in there, collar and sleeve and all that.
Oh yeah, a bit of is it the ball and chain sweep?
Yeah, that's the thing.
And
some of them I never knew actually had names. We just did the sweep and called it the De La Riva sweep. And now that you gave it a name, I looked it up again, and a couple of people have called it that. Some people just say it's the De La Riva sweep where they go backwards. So us formalize it. Who knows? This may now be the official name for eternity that everyone has to use.
Some known as the Yang Barlow standard.
Well, I think every technique should be the Yang Barlow standard, right? So
yes,
that will be cursed forever. Going, I can't stand the Yang Barlow standard version of this. So here's my version.
yeah, exactly. That's what I want to be. I can't. The way these guys did it is so basic.
Slingshot sweep, kite sweep, all good stuff. X guard sweeps. Yeah, we cover it all. So if there's a guard that we show, we have shown a sweep that you can do from there. I think we've covered all of them. We had fun doing the overhead sweeps, the balloon sweeps. Nearly got concussed doing it.
Yes, you had fun doing that one, the balloon sweep. Didn't
you? But Sandy was doing it to me, and we were filming it. And his first warm-up ones weren't quite right, and I toppled on top of my head.
Ooh,
and there's footage of me giggling, but I am actually in pain. But like a trooper, we suffer for our art. I thought, no, let's do it again till we do it right, because I want to draw it properly. So that's what we did.
Shout out to Donald here. I got him with a balloon sweep. Last weekend.
Nice. That's legitimate.
I got him right in the air with a look of horror, and then the big bang as he landed as well. So,
did you roll into mount then?
No, to be honest, I don't think I did. I'd started laughing, we were both laughing as he went over. I was going, I'm sorry, and he's going, don't worry, smash.
That's kind of cute. That's kind of sweet in a way. That as seasoned black belts and coaches, when I train, I actually have a laugh. Even if I'm being submitted, I find it funny. I just have a laugh on the mat, and it's nice that we still have that. And I think that's the beauty of the sport and the martial art that we have. But, I mean, people ask me for advice about this and that, and that's fine. That's my job, to coach and give instruction. But also, I'm there to train, and a lot of that is also just to have fun, like you said earlier. So I hope we've conveyed a little bit of that in the book. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Donald can smash me if he wants to, but he's just brave. We just have a nice little funny roll around. It's good. We can both learn from it.
He's actually very good. He's very tough, but he's very playful as well. So I appreciate that when we roll.
When you get in a playful mood, it's fun. Yeah, when he's in killer mode, then it's different.
I can imagine. Yeah, he's always been playful with me, but there's always that I can tell he's holding back. Yeah, All right, so submissions. This is it. This is the big one. This is what everyone will probably flick to first. They want to know how to do arm bars and chokes and things like that.
And there should be a little notice saying, it should be a notice on that chapter intro saying, "Don't start here. What are you doing? Go back to page 1."
Well, isn't that in your how to read this book bit? The very introduction.
Yeah, I keep talking about how you shouldn't ignore the fundamental bits.
They will, though. I mean, to be honest, if you were quite excited about learning jiu-jitsu for the first time because you saw something on the UFC or whatever on TikTok, you'd want to go straight to the page where we show off the submissions. So why did we choose the certain submissions that we did?
Because we like them. I think that's the main reason.
It's interesting that there are so many submissions or ways to do submission, but ultimately, you've got a choice of two. You're either attacking for a strangle, or you're trying to twist or break a joint. That's basically it.
Yeah,
got a warning.
We talk a lot about.
I want to talk about a warning. You got a bit. You had a bit of a worry there, didn't you? That somebody would read the book and kill themselves.
I was looking at your illustrations and then the text next to them, thinking, this is so well explained that people could actually just read this and do it. And I was like, oh, that's a bit dangerous.
You're not wrong, though. You're not wrong, because let's say some impressionable young man in college doesn't know anything, finds a picture of this, because let's face it, if that dumb to kill themselves with these techniques, they're not clever enough to buy the book.
I think you can kill yourself.
Well, kill someone else, yeah.
Yeah, more like
seriously hurt them. They go, oh, if you put your hand there and squeeze. I personally don't think it's that easy. I think you do need an instructor or a proper guidance.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I remember when I first learned, chokes in jiu-jitsu, none of them worked. And I was supposed to say, put your hands here, and then, okay, I'll do that. And then just the person was smiling at you going, it's not working. You just have to, it takes experience and feel, doesn't it? To get everything, it's millimeters of difference that matter.
And adjustment, the ability to be adaptable, because of course, if you've got someone, they will defend. Somebody could defend with their chin down, their ear down, or they'll put a hand here. A number of variable ways of defending it. Even if they don't do anything, their instinct is to do that. And then you have to adjust your grip, and that takes time to learn. And it's almost as if there's no instruction that can give you that. You have to figure out for yourself. But here's a start. Here's how to start. So I think what we're doing here is giving the people a start.
Yeah.
We like our puns, don't we? We had a big long discussion about these subheadings. So in the gi chokes chapter, guys, Graham's added the subheading full throttle. Get the joke? Right. So and there's a lot of them. And I think we got over the top with some of the musical reference, didn't we? And I had to sort of say, I think we're going a bit over the top on this one. We were name checking Fleetwood Mac, Pink Floyd, and it was just all sorts of, and it became a music history book, didn't it?
Yes. We've got the Canto choker now, which I really like. It's one of my faves.
That is a good one. the counter trick from the top, but of course we can do it from any one of a number of positions. It's very adaptable, isn't it?
And Ezekiel's in there.
Loop
Bow
choke's
and
my
arrow.
favorite.
Then we've got the no-gi chokes.
Yeah. The material.
Classic rear naked choke.
How to
And
get
a whole
the
compendium of different DARS, bulldog, anaconda, arming, guillotine.
I love these pages. Absolutely love
They
these.
look nice, don't they?
This is where the book gets a bit encyclopedic, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's like picture, detailed caption, picture, detailed caption, picture, detailed caption, just like it was the Encyclopedia Britannica of grappling. Yeah, I really enjoyed creating those pages and doing that. And I think it visually looks nice, but more importantly, informationally, it's useful. I hope so anyway. Because it can be confusing, isn't it, knowing what to do, grabbing this bit and that. Did we talk about position before submission? That was an important bit. We do, don't we?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, in the opening bit.
Then we're on to triangle choke. The triangle choke, the classic.
Now, that was written by Jun, I believe. It was one of the first things he wrote. Jun likes his film references, so he referred to Lethal Weapon, it being used, the triangle choke first getting a public airing in Lethal Weapon, the film, and many years later Hoist Gracie actually used it in the UFC 4. So thanks, Jun, for your entry there. Jun was one of the earlier contributors that when I was sampling the book and testing it out, and he wrote a couple of things in there, so I have to give him a shout out there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so
we talk a lot about the difference between the traditional triangle finish where it's square on, and then the sort of the more modern Ryan Hawley way of doing things, which is off at an angle.
Yeah, the step through that we depicted is the more angly one, which I think more people use these days. The traditional version, which is the lead image, is very square onto the person, isn't it? You've got a bit of an angle, but you're still very, and that's the one that people complain is a bit neck cranky. Is they're a bit too square on. They're both also valid. I've tapped to both types, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've tapped to both, but the square on is a bit slower, isn't it? It's a bit of a slow.
It's like you take your hand off, grab your shin, pull it in. That's all that. Yeah, the Ryan Hall version, I think, suits me better because I'm a skinny person and I just don't have the thighs to crush them from there. They're both valid. I think we haven't made too many judgments on these kind of things, have we? We've offered the information. It's up to the student to validate it with their practice.
Yeah.
But certainly more could be said about the triangle. In fact, we've got 2 pages on variations of the triangle. There are so many versions. I'm sure there's one I didn't include that I wanted to, but it just is so obscure. And I can't remember which one it is now. I'll have to look at my notes. It might be a version of the reverse triangle. I can't remember which one. Anyway, there's enough triangle variations to get people going.
We haven't got the no hand triangle in there.
Yeah, that's true. Or the reverse figure 4 triangle. Yeah, that's true. There's quite a few. It's quite. What's your favorite triangle?
Me, probably the triangle armbar. If I'm honest, it's attacking armbars from the triangle position is my
classic.
Yeah, I prefer armbarring people out of triangles than trying to finish the triangle. Just because I've got short legs.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see you liking that. I like the reverse triangle, Braulio's reverse triangle.
Yeah, see, I like the idea. Again, I like the idea of it. I just don't have the legs for it.
Yeah, so I'm the opposite to you. I'm not as good with these kind of triangle armbar power techniques, but the reverse triangle, I can get into position a lot. I don't always finish it, but I can get in there a lot because I've got skinny legs. Anyway, that's nice. Anyway, you two can have a discussion like this, kids, when you buy the book. All right.
Which triangle do you prefer?
Yeah, we could even do that as a social media quiz. Winner gets the
Yeah.
book. Now, the big one, the armbar.
Or gets
Guitari.
triangled. The winner gets triangled by Seymour.
You can triangle them. Yeah. I'll save my blushes for my failed reverse triangle. Right, armbar. The big one. I'd say the armbar is the quintessential submission for grappling. Would you agree?
Would you? That's a very bold claim. Quintessential.
Quintessential. Okay, I'll refine
you
that.
got 100% there.
The armbar is the quintessential submission in the gi-based grappling. Gi-based. If it's no gi, I think that guillotine is.
What about the triangle?
I think the armbar is the quintessential. I'd say it's easier to pull off an armbar than it is a triangle.
I say it's hard.
I think you can get a lucky armbar. You can't get a lucky triangle.
That's very true. That armbar that we've got as the lead image, though, that I find quite hard to do. As a lucky,
it's kind of a shotgunny armbar. This is actually from a photo shoot I did of Hoyler Gracie and my former instructor Eddie Cohn from early 2006. There was a seminar, and then we did a photo shoot that was on the cover of one of the magazines. And I kept that photo. Obviously, it's my photo, and I traced over it. And then it was later on a T-shirt, and then it's now entered the book. So I don't know why he chose to do that version of the armbar, but it looks beautiful visually. So I've included it in there. But you're right. It doesn't seem like a realistic one you would get against another peer.
No, that's the sort of armbar you get when somebody tries to strangle you from inside your closed guard, and you just throw your leg over their head, and their arm is already like outstretched.
But if you notice, the bottom person's left hand is cupping around the elbow, so it's like a shotgun armbar.
Yeah, that bit's different. Yeah,
which sadly I did not include in. Oh yes, I have in variations of the armbar.
We've got shotgun in there as well.
Yeah, I've got shotgun. I was teaching that the other day actually. It was a bunch of 15-year-olds, and I said, "So this is called a shotgun armor because it's like holding a shotgun," and they're looking at me, blinking at me. and maybe nodding, and I'm thinking, okay, this is the Fortnite generation. Of course they know what a shotgun is. But I'm thinking, no, they're all underage. Why am I talking about firearms with them? I've never used a shotgun, by the way. I've never even gone on a rifle range. So what do I know? S mount to armbar, and then very important, I thought, learning how to break the grip before you get the armbar. I thought that was cool. I really love the version where you do this and you do that.
I like that, but I
love that so much.
My fat forearms don't make it easy.
Well, if you want to learn how to do it properly, I suggest you read page 183. Yeah. No, for years I couldn't do it. I just didn't. I was watching videos, and my mind could not compute how you get the.
Oh, you did it, yeah.
I would fluff it up every time. And then one of the black belts I know, Abby, she came and did a seminar at place. She goes, "Oh, I use this armbar, Grace. It's my favorite." And for some reason, it just clicked the moment she showed me. And then I've been doing it ever since. So thank you to Abby, because this was inspired by you. I really love. So I've included it in that book because it's one of my favorites. But of course, there are many different ways to break the grip of the armbar, isn't it?
Yeah, I tend to use my feet a lot. For me,
you shove it in the gap and then just kick them or something.
I just sort of get my foot on their any foot I can get on their bicep at all, I'll take it.
Definitely,
and just push really hard.
Definitely works.
It's a bit like brute force, but it works.
So variations of armbar. I liked drawing these. They were fun. Every single one of these images, again, could have been a cover, because they just look like jiu-jitsu. They just look to me like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. Anytime someone's doing stuff off the back, it looks like jiu-jitsu, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps not the first one, the belly down. To the untrained eye, that could look different. And we had many of those, didn't we, Graham? Many examples where,
and a few comedy
out of context. Yeah, out of context, we were thinking, does this look weird to you? Does this look a bit wrong? And you would go, oh my God, it does. Okay, let me redraw it, because kids might be reading this book, and we don't want parents to be going, what is that you're reading, Johnny? It looks weird and wrong, and it looks very from Europe.
But then again,
they're from England, you say. Well, of course, they're practically communists, aren't they? There we go.
If you look at the step over armbar on page 184, look, I mean, that doesn't look, that looks a little bit unfortunate sometimes.
Not a good one, is it? Especially where the nose is pointing. Don't point these out now because I'm not redrawing them. This is going to press, or it has gone to press when this podcast comes. Anyway, I'm glad we got the Choi, changing the subject. I'm glad we got the Choi bar in, bang up to date, brand new technique. Well, it's not a new technique.
Oh, yeah.
It was called something else, and then the Korean guy Choi started using it a lot. Now they call it the Choi bar, but I'm pretty sure the Choi bar has been in existence long before Mr. Choi got involved.
But everyone loves the Choi bar. Like the B team do it all the time.
Named after Korean black belt Yongwon Choi. There you go. It's named after him. But we're not saying it was invented by him. It's just named after him. We have to be very clear about these things. Yeah, I do like a good Choi bar.
They went to Kimuras.
Kimura,
The good old
arguably,
Kimura.
probably second on the list of the most quintessential of.
Arguably, also the most quintessential technique in jiu-jitsu.
One could argue the whole submission section is quintessential jiu-jitsu.
I think triangle armbar and Kimura have all got claims. But then again, we're coming up to omoplata. That's also got a claim.
How could you not love the omoplata as a quintessential
That
technique,
looks
especially after Clark
very-
Gracie made claims?
It looks very quintessential to me.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if
good
you think about
card.
the ending of the omoplata, not only is it a joint lock, but it's a pin.
It's a position.
Yeah, but you're pinning him down as well. So if you wanted to arrest someone, I think the omoplata, if you want to manage to do, would be very good.
Just
And it
imagine
would look
doing
good.
omoplata
It
to
would look
arrest
better in
somebody.
yeah, and the CC and the courts won't take a dim view because you're not strangling them. They'll just go, "Well, I'm just sitting on him, sir." You know.
I'm just breaking his shoulder. It's fine.
But you can sort of imagine like just inching your hips a bit higher to make them scream a bit. So there you go. Would-be heroes, omoplata. We put the challenge out to you when you're dealing with an assailant or a thief. Did you see that one where he was in Spain where the Chinese guy was being robbed and he got him in a rear naked choke? This thief was screaming.
Held him. Yes. Yeah, held him
We only
down.
see the footage of being held with a rear naked choke, but he had it locked in, didn't he? He had it, but not fully squeezed, just there. That thief. It's the one time I felt actually sorry for the thief because he looked defeated beyond being defeated. His eyes said everything. Like he was.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah.
Yeah.
let's
Whenever
stop him for
I've
being a
seen
thief.
like street arrests like that before, where people are in rear naked chokes, and they always pretend that they're passing out to make the guy let go. It's like every time.
The old
I've seen
passing
one
out
where
trick.
one guy's going, "I can't breathe. I'm passing out," and the guy goes, "No, you're not." Just carries on holding it.
Yeah, because we actually know what we're doing. So
Yeah.
All right, omoplata. Then we've got Americana. Not the most exciting submission, but it's the one that everyone teaches to beginners. Americana.
It's the most basic, boring.
Have you ever seen a Americana finish at black belt level?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
I mean, in competition,
Not-
in tournament.
Not in competition. No. But I've definitely submitted black belts with it.
Okay, respect. All right.
Because it might be basic, but if you've got it, it's on. You know, it's one of those techniques.
True. Once the arm is exposed. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, fair enough. I can't even get in white belt, so no. I don't look for the Americana, to be fair. Once I get side control, I want to get knee on belly or mount or back.
I mean, the first part of the Americana technique is weighing over 80 kilograms. I mean, that's definitely part of the technique.
I definitely felt that when we rolled, that's for sure. But when I roll with beginners, I feel it's more important that they know how to get rid of me when I mount them or go into knee on belly or take their back, rather than from side control and just trying to crank their arm to get an Americana, which I'm sure I could do. I just feel it's more important for them to learn to frame against me and watch out for my transition to the next movement. So that's why I tend to never go for the Americana.
Is you trying to explain why you never get it on white belts? Is that your long-winded explanation of
that's my long-winded excuse?
You've never actually pulled off an Americana.
Also, it segues very nicely to the next chapter, which is what I'd like to do, which is leg locks. And after that, it's wrist locks. So
it's one of the original pictures, isn't it? One of the original pictures, that one there, that leg lock one.
Oh yeah.
So hold.
So this is the other picture, because when we did the photograph with Eddie and Euler, they did two techniques. One was the armbar, the other one was the toe hold, and these drawings are the result of my photographs of them. So it's an OG image as far as I'm concerned, and had to stay in the book. Even though realistically, would you toe hold someone from standing like this?
That's never going to work, but it looks great.
It does look beautiful. One could say it's a quintessential footlock. You're going to be my tagline. I'm going to quote myself. I'm going to start saying that. It's so
a quintessential leg lock position, which I think is Ashigurami, really, if we're honest. Isn't that the quintessential leg lock position?
So by now, yeah, pretty much by now. So variations of straight ankle lock. Now, this is an interesting. Leg locks are an interesting topic, because if you're new to jiu-jitsu, you may just assume that the whole variety of leg locks are what we all do: heel hooks, toe hold, knee bars, straight ankle locks, Z locks. All these kind of things are very trendy. They make great TikTok reels. They're on social media. But the reality is, I don't think it's too controversial to say most clubs, they will say, if you're new, let's stick to the straight ankle lock. And that's why in the book, we've stuck to only talking we've mentioned heel hooks and everything, but in terms of the techniques that we show, we've stuck with the straight ankle lock. And there's enough out there. There's enough content on the straight ankle lock to make it effective from white belt all the way to black belt. There are some very, very good champions who just use the straight ankle lock and do it very well. So I'm not saying you don't need to learn all the other stuff like heel hooks, but that arguably should come later in your evolution. Now, that being said, there are a lot of clubs who just focus on submission grappling now, or they are up and coming. And they'll have you doing heel hooks from the very beginning, as well as MMA clubs. So it's horses for courses. I would argue that most gi jiu-jitsu clubs would probably say, stick to just learn the straight ankle lock for now. That's more than enough to keep you happy. And later on, you can start developing the more advanced leg lock game. So in our leg lock chapter, we've pretty much kept to straight ankle lock. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. I don't think we need to be doing heel hooks in this book, so that's fine.
Isn't it? I did mention, I wrote that chapter, didn't I? Actually, yeah. I'm sure I mentioned the heel hook in there. That it's a thing. I was mentioned Dean Lister, Danaher, Death Squad. Yeah, that was fun to write.
Yeah, I've got the 50-50 position in there as well.
Yeah,
for leg locks too, which is good.
Yeah, and the single leg X guard.
Yep.
Page 195. And then we move on to wrist locks, another one of my favorite chapters that I really felt strongly about including. You could argue it's not an essential and fundamental technique for white belts to learn, but again, it exists, and we're trying to expose you to the variety of things that you'll be lucky enough to do when you first join. And wrist locks have a history. Very famous chap called Ronaldo Dakari Souza used it many, many times. It's the wrist lock that bends the wrist backwards like that. He's very good at it. And that's a lovely introduction to jiu-jitsu when someone does that to you. I think it's important because it's the classic no strength, pure technique, small person defeating a bigger person type of jiu-jitsu move that you can do.
And they really hurt.
It really hurts, but you have to be skilled in using them. Like if I went up to you, I grabbed your hand, and it's quite obvious and telegraphed that I'm doing a wrist lock, you could easily just not let it happen. But in the scheme of things, if you're doing all lots of distractions and grips, and then boom, the wrist lock that we show here from closed guard, oh boy, that really works. That really works. In fact, I did some today in class. It wasn't even, no, it was a white belt. I've done them on black belts too, okay? You know, I'm not that mean.
Wrist locking white belts, that's awful. Awful behavior.
They got to learn. Yes, big chapter, multiple submission threats. Big chapter.
Yeah, this is where it starts getting fun, right? This is where you one submission leads into another submission.
just to explain, we felt that, as Graham just said, it's important to understand that when you try something for the first time, even at a high level, it very often doesn't work. So you need to have a secondary move that follows up from it. Now, some people take that to the next level where the first move that they use is a trap. They know that you're going to defend it. And the very fact that you're going to defend it with this arm sets up a submission on that arm or whatever. So we wanted to present that with two examples. The first one is the Americana, which turns into an armbar, which then turns to a Kimura, which was, I think you are demonstrating in this one, Graham.
That could be me. It might be some of my students. I'm not sure.
Upside control. It could be. It's one of your board students anyway. But that's a classic example of a multiple or a sequenced threat, multiple threat attack. And the second example is from close guard. You try to get the armbar. They defend, so that presents the omoplata to you, but they defend that, which then presents the triangle choke, and we finish on the triangle choke. So really just 3 submissions, but that, again, that's a classic one that is the instructors use to teach you the concept of multiple attacks, which I'm very proud we put that in there because I think it's very relevant to students coming up through the ranks. Yeah. We've got another one, haven't we? We've got 3. Sorry, we've actually got 3 examples. A bonus.
Yes, this is going to the armbar from a rear naked choke.
Yeah, this is not so much multiple threats, but multiple options. Because if you do go for the armbar, you pretty much committed to the armbar. So it's more about just showing you how this position gives you many different options depending on how the nuances of how they move. And it's one of the few pages where I've kept the drawings split in the middle of the spine. Technical note: this is very hard because you have to create a separation when you provide it to the printers. And there were a couple of other pages where I had to just redesign it because it did not work. But this one, I think we can just pull it off because the key detail is not lost in the spine. There you go, book geeks.
Oh, then this is the last chapter, which is
the one that we are most proud of, I think.
The mightiest chapter of all, the quintessential chapter of the book.
It's the biggest chapter, isn't it?
The biggest, yeah, it's just the biggest. But this is escapes.
Oh, now I love escapes. I love defense in BJJ.
Now, I think you were more pivotal in this chapter than me because you love escapes.
But in the beginning, you were sort of just like, okay, we ought to do it. But I was passionate about it. But I think by the end, you saw it for what it was.
Yeah, it's great.
You're now a big escape fan, right? Thanks to that chapter.
I'm yes. This writing this book has convinced me of the importance of escapes.
See, we've helped each other grow.
Changed me. This book changed me, man.
It's also that religious undertones. The thing with escapes, they're a bit like a lot of the other chapters, that there are so many interpretations and variations, and we've tried to narrow it down to fairly fundamental movements, most of it involving either the hip escape or bridging or variations thereof, applied to trying to escape side, mount, knee on belly. All these sorts of things will involve one of those 2 movements in the mix. So we tried to show how and why. And this whole section is split into 2, isn't it? The first is positional escapes, where the hip escape and the bridging would be involved. Then there's the very complex topic of submission escapes. Do you want to explain how we handled that? Because mount escapes is here's a mount escape, okay, side escape, but there are so many ways to escape an armbar. There's so many ways to escape a triangle. How did we cover that? It's quite complicated.
I think we chose our favourites, didn't we? I mean, yes. I mean, when it comes to the armbar, I'm really pleased we put the reverse hitchhiker in because that is my go-to.
Right.
So I think we included the hitchhiker as well.
Submission escape.
Yeah. And then we've got the reverse one.
Well, we've got that page on concepts, submission escape as concepts, which I think is what I've been talking about in trying to conceptualize and simplify the idea of what you're trying to do when you're escaping a submission.
Oh yeah. So there I talked about what leads to a submission. It's essentially like having somebody puts something in the gap between your arm and your side. And so we talk about the conceptual idea of keeping that gap closed. And we also talk about how the position of your body can defend the choke. You have to bring your hands up to your neck all the time. Stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, so a lot of I think this page alone will help a lot of beginners, because it pretty much defines the 3 or 4 most important things that you need to do, and are quite easy to remember if you're under pressure and you think that somebody's going to armbar you or choke you. Cross collar choke, escape defenses, defending from the back, rear naked choke defenses, sliding collar choke, rolling escape, bow and arrow. You like this one, don't you? Your rolling escape from the bow and arrow. This was a Graham favorite. Escaping the guillotine. So we had some no-gi stuff in there. By the way, we didn't really categorize something as gi or no-gi. It sort of, when it felt right, we did it as a no-gi technique. Most of the techniques are gi, but when it felt right, we did a no-gi version, just because that technique is more common in no-gi. But it's not like you can't do one or the other, unless it's very dependent on the gi grips. You can interchange. If you're escaping, the escapes are fundamental to everything. If you're attacking, then a guillotine you can do in the gi. You don't have to wait till no-gi class to do the guillotine, etc., etc. I think it was more just what was available at the time. Sometimes I filmed stuff and it was no-gi class. I thought, well, I'll just chuck this into that chapter, but it could easily apply to the gi.
Yeah, definitely.
But we didn't really clarify that point in the book. So somebody may go, well, why have you chosen to do no-gi for that one?
John, I think I talked about it a bit in the intro.
Did you?
Yes, about
again, my brain got puzzled. It's so long ago.
Somewhere in the intro, talking about the fact that some techniques are no-gi.
You're right. Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I felt it was better.
Yeah. All right. So there's two parts of that section: positional escapes, submission escapes. We tell you to escape the arm triangle, how to escape the north-south kimura, more kimura escapes, a lot of kimura escapes actually. I don't know why we chose so many. Each one's different, I suppose.
Takes a lot of escaping.
Indeed. Triangle escapes.
Yeah.
I'd say triangles are one of the hardest to escape, hardest submissions to escape. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think once it's locked in, you've had it.
Just there's a horrible pressure on your neck and your throat.
Yeah, and the clock ticks down very quickly.
Yeah, and if you move the wrong way, it gets tighter.
Yes. Yeah.
We didn't cover
triangle. Really benefits from early defense, doesn't it? Late defense triangle escape is like rolling a dice, really.
Well, that's what we've done, isn't it? We've done early stage defense as the first option.
Yeah.
We've done a sort of middle stage defense, which is the stacking escape, and then here's your Hail Mary, Roger Gracie's step over. I mean, I've got it to work, but I certainly wouldn't like to leave it that late.
No, I've quite often done the step over and just been tapping out as soon as I was in the position. Yeah.
If you watch actually Roger doing it, it looked like he was really in trouble. It really looked like he was in trouble. But there's quite a few matches where he looks like in trouble, and then he almost like all right, I'll move into second gear now. And then, can you imagine the feeling of your opponent going, yes, I'm about to tap Roger. Oh, no, he can't.
No, I'm not. Oh, now he's passing my guard.
Oh, no, he's mounted me. Why am I seeing these stars? Yeah, amazing, talented person. We mentioned Roger quite a few times, actually. I know we're name dropping, but why not? Let's have a look. Gracie's. Roger, the head of the association of affiliation, from which I teach from. Roger is mentioned 4 times. Okay, so he's probably the most mentioned Gracie in our book, and that's with one of them removed. We removed one of the Roger Gracie quotes, didn't
we? We had to remove one, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that might have changed now. Yeah, this might include the old version. Anyway. So that pretty much, armbar escapes. We've got quite a few armbar escapes. Since
I
I
love
have
I love that reverse hitchhiker escape. It's my favorite.
since I've elevated the armbar to becoming the showpiece submission for jiu-jitsu, we've included several armbar escapes for your delectation. 1, 2, 3, 4 armbar.
It's a showpiece now rather than quintessential.
Well, I got bored of the quintessential word. I thought that people would turn off.
Yeah, you've got to have a standard and stick to it. You can't keep mixing and matching.
That's true. There's consistency, you see. Just the final thing.
My cover is looking more and more purple to me.
It's your lighting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in this lighting. It's gone purple.
So I've got LED lighting, which is a pure white light.
Yeah, I've got some sort of
color.
yellow. I've got a yellow light, and it's
so
interesting.
So let's just give some shout outs. I already mentioned John. John was one of the original contributors to the book. I want to thank him for his efforts. David Lindsay, he was also, I consulted him a lot, and he wrote a chapter, so that was really good. I already mentioned Sandeep, the club owner of RGA South Hearts, but also my buddy and training partner, and he helped out a massive amount for creating the techniques in the book. You have many students that you use to help model, so I'm sure you want to give a thank you for them and the clubs that you trained at.
Yeah. Niraj.
Too many to list, I imagine, but they will all volunteer their time.
Andy,
you told them to do it, so
they have no choice. Basically, they're like, as part of the class, we're now going to film this. You two, stand over there.
So we should also mention thank you to John Will. Now, if you don't know who John Will is, John Will wrote the foreword for us, and John is a 6th degree black belt from Australia, and he's what many consider one of the dirty dozen, the first 12 non-Brazilians to achieve the rank of black belt in BJJ. And he got his black belt a long time ago. I can't remember the date, but it's a long time ago. Before any of you guys listening to this ever started training or even knew what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was, he was already a black belt. And he's been really important, certainly in my life, because when he started coming over to the UK to teach seminars, out of the blue, he just invited me to attend. We didn't have a prior connection, but he's just so friendly. He's always been supportive and friendly of not just me, but my brand, my Meerkatsu, and we've always been in touch. And I've done some drawings for him and just talked about all sorts of things. So every time he comes to the UK, he comes annually and teaches at the same clubs every year. I've just popped along to 1 or 2 of his seminars. I do his techniques, which are brilliant. I just thought, John, would you mind writing a foreword for our book? Without hesitation, the next day we got the email and he goes, here you go. Amazing. So generous of his time, very supportive. So thank you, John, for your foreword, which we've put on the front cover there. That's a big thank you. Another thank you I want to say. Sorry, this whole podcast is going to be thank yous now. It's like the Oscars, isn't it? There's going to be a ticking time and the orchestra's going to come up. To Ed Bowen, who approached, just like you, he did a Graham Barlow. He approached me out of the blue going, hey, I hear you're writing a book. Do you want an editor? I said, well, we are our own editors because, well, do you need a proofreader then? So, well, who are you? What do you do? I've done Dan Strauss's book. I'm a copywriter. And then he listed his CV and I felt very stupid for asking him for his credentials because he is very, very, very qualified within the copywriting and editorial scene, albeit at a corporate level, maybe not at the consumer publishing level, which is where you come in. So it was really interesting for me to see the two talents and skill sets cross over. And he spotted a lot of things in here that you and I, we went through this with a fine-tooth comb dozens of times, but you get word blind to your own creations. So he found lots of minor little details, space shiftings here, or you forgot to put the word, an A there or a full stop there. Wow. And that's a lesson for you guys out there. If you're making a book, please hire a professional. Don't rely on spell check. Don't reread it. Don't give it to your mate who's done GCSE English and got a grade 6 and thinking, oh, I'll do a proofreading. You won't do a professional job. You need a professional, because this person, Ed, did an amazing job. He even found small details with my artwork, which slightly hurt my pride because I thought I'd created perfection. But no, he found little errors. I had to swallow that pride and redraw them. But that's cool. That's what you hire them for the greater good of the book. So anyway, shout out to him. But basically, this whole book is you and I. You and I, pretty much 99% of it is you and I sitting down each night, having a little chin wag. But here's some drawings. What techniques we're doing next? Let's do this, draw this, write this, do that. Very consuming. It took up a lot of our personal time, but good.
But it was fun, wasn't it? It was fun.
Are you not proud? Are we not proud of this thing here?
I'm very proud of this.
Damned proud. Somebody said, "Oh, you're writing a book." See, one of my students said, "You're writing a book, aren't you?" When is it out? I said, "Oh, it'll be out soon." Because you're creating a legacy. This is amazing. It'll be something like that will go on. And I thought, yeah, I suppose I am. Long after I die, these names will still be on the ISBN register of books that have ever been published. A copy will go to the British Library. You have to do that by law. Who knows? It might be on Amazon, but we're not selling this on Amazon. We are putting this on my Meerkatsu store. First of all, I suppose it's a good chance to plug the actual how to get this book now, isn't it?
Yeah. Now we're about 2 hours into the podcast, so we should start selling.
You can buy this book at meerkatsu.com. Please sign up to my newsletter because I'll tell you all the detail. I will talk about it on social media as well, but the newsletter is the best place to find out about this book. But we're going to do a pre-order because we don't know how many to print. If I print 500 but I only sell 100, I've got a lot of things that I can't sell. However, equally, if I only print 100 and 1,000 of you order the book, there could be a long delay. So we're going to do a pre-order for 2 weeks. And you just buy it as you would normally on our meerkatsu.com website. But after 2 weeks, the deadline is, and then I know how many to print, and I'll go to the printers going, can you print 300 of these? And I'll print a few more so that just in case some last minute stragglers want the book and they didn't make the pre-order. And once it's sold out, that's the hardback version of the book done. I don't think we'll make another hardback version. So you could argue it's a limited edition version. I hate to use cheesy marketing gimmick tools, but it's a limited edition version. After that, I think we'll make a softback paperback version of it, but we'll see. I haven't made a firm plan of how we'll sell that. But this book you can't get on Amazon. It can only be bought through meerkatsu.com for the time being. We don't know the price yet, but it'll be around about 36, 37 quid. If you're ordering from the States, when you buy the book, there will be shipping. There'll be a small shipping fee. It's not too expensive, but don't forget, thanks to your president, there will be a tariff that you have to pay when this book lands, but it's only 10%. UK's 10%, isn't it? It's not 20%, it's 10%.
10%, I think, yeah.
Yeah. If you're ordering from Europe, hey, no tariff. I think it's underneath the threshold. Asia, same thing. UK customers, of course. It's written in British English. Just to be clear, if you think we've spelt things wrong, Americans, we haven't. It's British English. Okay. What else to say about the product as a book?
It's great.
It's heavy.
It's great as a weapon.
Exactly. This is solid, man. Okay, it's hardback, perfect bound. Although the printer we're using may stitch them as well, so that's to be negotiated. But it's solid. This book will last longer than a blue belt. But unlike a blue belt, it won't disappear.
Yeah. It's a perfect gift for your loved one who is into jiu-jitsu as well.
Yes, indeed. Although why a non-jiu-jitsu person would be watching this podcast, I don't know. Well, they might do.
Well, you might want to suggest an idea to your loved one.
Yeah, they might do.
What to get you for your birthday, perhaps, that sort of thing.
They might do. Yeah. So that's us plugging it. All right. And after all this, if you listen for 2 hours, you go, by the way, who are you? Well, I'm Seymour. I'm a 3rd degree black belt. I train at a Roger Gracie affiliate called RGA South Hearts in England. I've been training for 22 years and I love it so much. I loved it so much that I made a book of it. And Graham, you are also a black belt.
Also, but only a 2nd degree, not quite up to the level of 3rd degree.
I think the point we're trying to make is we have enough experience, I guess, to credentials, so to speak, to kind of know enough to have the authority to write a book. But so there you go. But we have shown it to various people that know even better than we do, more experienced people, especially in specific fields, and they all seem to approve and have given their feedback, and they think they're very excited, and we're very excited about the book.
Yeah. Great. Should we leave it there?
Yeah. The Ultimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the Ultimate Illustrated Guidebook. Look out for it, meerkatsu.com.
Yeah.
And I want to see this on the underground. I'm going to see this on airplanes as people carry on. I want to see this in academies, on the reception desks. It's going to be amazing.